Be sure to head to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same with the Grizzly Gentleman. You get 10% off at checkout. Both of them are fantastic deals, and they help support the show. What is up, Planeswalkers and members of the Cool Kids crew? Theorix6, aka Nice Haircut, back with some more Magic the Gathering previews slash spoiler discussion, fixing my camera because I'm garbage. Anyway, before we get started, I just have to say, Papa Bless, thank you so much to CGB and the entire Cool Kid Club for the support yesterday. It's today for me, so you might see that I'm still kind of like out of it a little. I'm speechless. I cannot say how much I appreciate this stuff. So, technically, Jumpstart doesn't... It's not fully previewed until tomorrow, aka today for you all. But what I'm going to do is what I did with M21, in that I'm going to go through the cards that have been currently released. I'm not actually going to do like necessarily individual cards. I'm going to keep it on this screen just because that's how I want to do it this time. And then if there are any interesting things tomorrow, I'm going to include that into my deck building video. So tomorrow I'm going to, well, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be uploading a deck building video, and then tomorrow for you all should be Saturday. And I'll be streaming on Twitch Saturday, making other decks and still playing viewer games. Time travel is hard. Right. So, you know, if there's anything that comes out after I make this video, I'll talk about it there. I guess one thing I should note is that I did add up all of the cards that I noticed were worth money from the Mystery Booster box, and it came out to $126 out of 34 cards, so sure, it was a win for me. But yeah, I'll be doing giveaways of those cards at some point, but we're going to hop into some Jumpstart cards now. I'm going to talk not only just about the new cards, but also about some reprints that I think are going to be relatively interesting in terms of Historic. Now, there also are some cards that aren't coming to Historic, and I'll talk about those as well, because I have some thoughts. First, we're going to look at Blessed Sanctuary. So, there's a cool unicorn pack, I suppose you could say. 5 mana, prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control. Hilariously, this card is pretty decent in many of the commander spheres that I've been a part of, because this can stop, you know, you dying from infinite from Niv Mizzet. This can stop your creatures dying from a Blasphemous Act. And for what it's worth, this doesn't say prevent non-combat damage from your opponent. So you could be playing a token deck with Blasphemous Act and Blessed Sanctuary, and then bada bing bada boom, you get to benefit from that. The other thing is, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. So this is like Oketra, except that this is enchantment. So I think it's very interesting. I think, unfortunately, Oketra is generally going to be better. I'm thinking of Historic right now. You're not going to need the prevent all non-combat damage all that much. Obviously, if you're going into burn, it would be fantastic. However, against burn, 5 mana enchantment probably is not going to save you. That said, one of the things that I'm hoping for, because of the sheer amount of Commander reprints that we might get, is that Wizards puts Commander onto Arena. There's some arguments. So I think they should keep Brawl. I think having Brawl as a standard rotating format thing, I think that's fine. Do we keep Historic Brawl? I mean, the thing is, I guess you keep Historic Brawl because right now there's no queue for it anyway. So you have Standard Brawl, which gets its own queue. You have Commander, which is just Arena Commander. It has all the Arena cards that are legal. All the rest of the rules are pretty much the same, right? That gets its own queue. So you have 2 queues for your Singleton formats. A lot of people are like, I just want to play Singleton. As much as I think Singleton's great, cough cough Gladiator, those are in my opinion more for the direct matches. And I think that's what you can do with Historic Brawl as well. You just have Friendly Brawl. It's Historic Brawl. Cool. I am very much hoping that Commander comes to Arena. Even if it's still like 1v1 Commander, the fact that it's 100 cards is easier for someone like me who wants to put so many good cards into the same deck. So many of these cards seem like a lot of fun, and I just can't find room for them in my 60 card 25 life format. However, I can play them in my wacky 100 card 40 life format. So I'm hoping that Jumpstart like hints at Commander coming to Magic soon, or to Arena soon, but who actually knows? Brightmare, I don't really care all that much about. I'm actually not going to talk too much about any individual cards I don't think are going to be super important, but the fact that they seem to be trying to make unicorns better is interesting. It's one of those fantasy races that I'm frankly surprised haven't had as much good support until now. Speaking of support, we have a unicorn commander in green-white. Makes sense. Emil the Blessed is a 4-mana 4/4. Pay 3, exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. What's cool is that this is a fast flicker, so it allows you to immediately get your value. However, since it is a fast flicker, you're not going to be able to, evade a board wipe or something. Unfortunately, it can't exile itself. It's exile another creature, so if removal comes its way, it's a horse. It's a unicorn. My bad. It's way, their way, because it's not a normal horse. It's a person thing. Anyway, if removal comes their way, then it just gets destructed. But it can protect your other things from removal and stuff. So it's cool. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay Selesnya. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on it. If it's a unicorn, put 2 1/1 counters on it. So this is a really interesting thing here because, one, doesn't have to be a non-token creature, very important, and two, it just works generally with some +1/+1 counters matter things. So if you aren't necessarily running a unicorn deck because there isn't enough unicorn support, you still get some nice +1/+1 counters matters things. And then if it's a unicorn, it's better. Release the dogs, aka Who Let the Dogs Out, the only actual way to declare you're casting the spell, is a 4-mana create 4 1/1 white dog creature tokens. Now we have something similar to this in green in Historic. It's the 4-mana instant, I believe, create 3 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens. So the difference is that that's instant speed, but it creates 3, I believe. I could be super wrong, but this is sorcery speed and creates 4. However, this makes dogs, and dogs are a newly supported tribe. I like it. I do like that they have a bunch of breeds of dog. I will say none of these have a concrete breed that I can tell. No. No. Okay, we have some more dogs, but this one's 5-mana 2/2 dog is not the best. It's good for go wide, but it's not good for go wide. It costs too much. Trusty Retriever is interesting. It can either be a 3/4 for 4, which is good and limited, or it can return an artifact or enchantment, so it can, like it's doing in the art, it can get your important equipment back. But unless you're specifically trying to play Brawl artifact or enchantment deck, I don't see its use all that much. Archaeomender, on the other hand, seems very strong. Not just in Historic, but in other places that this is going to be legal in. It's 3-mana 2/3. It's a human wizard. Both of those creature types are very strong. When it enters the battlefield, return target artifact cards from your graveyard to your hands. This has so much potential to be utterly busted because of just potential nonsense you can do with 0, 1, and 2 cost artifacts. The flavor text is also quite interesting. Just as a broken relic. What do you mean broken, wizards? Do you mean broken as in it has been damaged? Or do you mean broken as in it's broke AF? Yeah, I would not be surprised. I can't think of anything where to be slotted into immediately, but I would not be surprised if there is some nonsense combo deck with Archaeomender. Ormos Archive Keeper is a super cool looking Sphinx that's also very interesting, because it's similar to things like Lab Maniac, Thassa's Oracle, Jace Wielder of Mysteries, etc., that make it so you don't lose from drawing when you have no cards in library. But it's more akin, I'm going to guess, those make you win specifically, which is what I should say. But it is more akin to something like Underrealm Lich, where instead of drawing when you have no cards in your library, you get to just do something else. You don't get to win, but you don't die, which is pretty good. So 6 mana 5/5 flyer, already stats are fine. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead, put five 1/1 counters on Ormos. That ain't bad. Obviously, it's kind of risky being just having no cards in your library. Pay 1 blue, discard 3 cards with different names, draw 5 cards. So this is very obviously a Brawl/Commander card. The weirdness, though, is that for Commander, it's going to be relatively unlikely, excuse me, that you're going to be put in a situation where you have no cards left in your library, and no one's going to be able to kill this. Obviously, you can protect it, you can give it indestructibility, hexproof, etc., etc. But yeah, in Brawl, since there are only 60 cards, it's a little bit more reasonable to suspect that you're going to be able to have this, and it's a little bit more reasonable to suspect that you can protect your Ormos. That said, it's a bit risky, and I don't know if I would actually play it. Absolutely love the art, love what the card does. I just don't think it does. I don't think it does enough, if that makes any sense. Another Sphinx, your Scholar of the Lost Trove. So I don't know if I know where either of these. This Sphinx, no idea what plane that is. And same with Scholar of the Lost Trove. I absolutely do not know where that's from. 7 mana 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant, sorcery, or artifact card from your graveyard without paying its mana costs. If an instant or sorcery spell would be cast this way, it would be put into your graveyard this turn and exile instead. So, luckily it can't get back enchantments, so you don't have to worry about someone essentially reanimating Omniscience. But still, you can just get back really, like, you play it, you play a deck, right, with reanimation spells, with powerful instant sorceries, maybe some powerful artifacts. And then you reanimate this after milling yourself a bunch and get something stupid and you win. I don't know what that is, but it sounds funny. Kel's Fight Fixer. She is an Azra, or frankly a Tiefling, from the Battle Bond set, which I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head the plane that's called from. Shut up. But man. Anyway, she's a 4 mana 4/3. She has Menace. Cool. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may pay Dimir. If you do, draw a card. Reasonable. Definitely reasonable. And then you can pay 1 attack creature. Kel's Fight Fixer gains indestructible until end of turn. So she's very similar to Yahenni. Yahenni was a 3 mana 2/2. I think she had haste, except with Yahenni you could sacrifice a creature with, like, it was free, and you gave Yahenni indestructibility. But Yahenni didn't have Menace, she had haste, so, you know, there's that. But she also didn't allow you to continue to generate some card advantage. So, for example, if your creature is going to die anyway, then you now pay 2 instead of 1. You still get Kel's indestructibility, but now you get to draw a card as well. So I do think that Kel's is a pretty decent Brawl commander. I don't think that she'll fit into any of the currently established sacrifice decks, because those decks tend to want a lot more aggression. I think where Kel's would shine is, if we get this, a more long game, you know, mid-range control sacrifice deck that wants to get this very long-term advantage, who isn't necessarily looking for just cashing in all of your creatures at once in order to kill your opponent really fast. So, very cool. Warlocks are also dope. Nocturnal Feeder is interesting, but I don't think it's good enough. 3 mana, 2/1, flying, sure. When it dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. It's not 3 life, and we saw in M21, I'm going to move over slightly, we saw in M21 that gaining 3 life was one of the important things that allowed you to trigger all of these other cards. This only gains 2. If it were more lopsided, where each opponent only lost 1 and then you gained 3, I think you'd have a little bit more argument to play it, because of the things that care about that in M21, but otherwise, man. Tinybones Trinket Thief is so fucking adorable. 2 mana 1/2. Legendary Skeleton Rogue. It's a skeleton who steals shit, and it's tiny. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Sure, you'll lose a life. Who cares? This is at the beginning of each end step. So if you make them discard on your turn, you draw a card and lose. If you make... lose a life. If you make them discard on their turn as well, you draw a card and lose a life. I absolutely love it. 6 mana, which is a lot, don't get me wrong. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. Fucking hilarious. I absolutely love this card. I'm going to try and play it in some sort of like Davriel style 60 card normal historic discard deck. But also seems just generally fine in a discard centric Brawl deck. I like it. Witch of the Moors is a 5 mana 4/4 lady with too many damn arms. She has Death Touch. I hope she does. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, any life at all, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and you return up to 1 creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is very interesting, right? This is something where you're going to want to gain, you'll be gaining life, but you're also going to be wanting to have creatures in your bin to get. And now I will say, something like this is something that you might want to use. But there are other cards, namely, and these are the cards that came to mind when I first saw this, Mire Triton. Each of your end steps, cool. Mire Triton and Gorging Vulture, right? That's a 2 and a 3 that they enter and they mill you some. With Mire Triton, you gain 2 always. With Gorging Vulture, you'll gain 1 life for each creature, so hopefully you'll gain some life. And what's great is that Witch of the Moors isn't a threshold mechanic, right? She doesn't care how much life you've gained, as long as you've gained some life. Being able to have Witch of the Moors, you play your Mire Triton, you gain 2 life, you force your opponent to sack a creature, and then from whatever you put into the graveyard with your Mire Triton, you get back. Let's say, for example, you get another Mire Triton. You block with your first Mire Triton, it's now in the graveyard. You use Mire Triton again. Bada bing, bada boom, you're getting this nice loop here. So I think it would be interesting to have Witch of the Moors in some sort of deck that aims to put a lot of things into the graveyard, potentially reanimate them, I'm not sure, and then just have incidental life gain from the cards that you're going to be playing anyway. It is important to note that it is only during your turn, so you don't care as much about doing things, gaining life on your opponent's turn. But I don't think this card is terrible, and the fact that she has Death Touch makes her rather lackluster body. 5 mana for a 4/4 isn't the best, but it makes her lackluster body a little bit better. So, Lightning Sphinx is a 3 mana 2/2 flying haste, and it can't block. Who needs to block with them stats? At the beginning of your end step, if an opponent was dealt 3 more damage this turn, you may pay a single red. If you do, return it to the graveyard to the battlefield. It's nice that this is only during your end step. What this means is that you can't, lightning strike your opponent at the end of their turn. You trigger this. No, has to be on your turn. Makes sense. But it still seems stone playable. There are so many decent cards for for various types of mono red aggressive decks in Historic that I would not be surprised if this is played in at least one of them. I like the fact that there are deck archetypes on Historic at this point that have enough of a core to see play, but there are enough free slots essentially where you can mix and match and you can get completely different decks as a result. Very excited to see where Lightning Phoenix lands. Same with Lightning Visionary. It's a 2 mana 2/1 with prowess. Now we don't have a ton of prowess creatures per se, but we do already have an archetype for blue-red spells matter decks. Now this competes directly with the other 2 mana card, the fairy, the dragon fairy or whatever the hell it is. I don't remember what it is. But it's like a blue and a red 1/1 flyer. When you cast a spell, it gets +1/+1 counter. This technically competes for that slot, but if they're looking for more 2-drops, this can be the 5th and 6th essentially version of that. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if this gets to see play in a type of blue-red spells mana, or even just straight up burn. I'm gonna burn you to death. This is my budget version of what is that? Monastery Swift Spear. There we go. I know, magic cards. Absolutely interesting. That said, I also wouldn't be terribly surprised if it doesn't see any play. Living Element, or Living Lightning, I don't recall being interesting. Allosaurus Shepherd, Wizards, what the fuck? Is a 1-mana, 1/1 elf. It can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. 6 mana. Until end of turn, each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other types. Historic, this is probably not going to be too much of an issue. I've not touched Legacy in a little bit. How does this not seem insane in Legacy elves? All of your elves no longer can get countered. They can still be killed, sure, but now they just can't be countered. Your green spells, not just your green creatures, not just your elves, your green spells can't be countered anymore. Holy crap. Seems absolutely nutso in real Eternal formats. In Historic, hilarious, I don't think this is actually very good. I think the elf decks are really going to want to just be ramp, make a big card that we'll see in a little bit, and then win. So, Neath? Something of the Dire Hunt. 4 mana, 3/3, sure. Whenever one more creatures you control fight or become blocked, draw a card. Unfortunately, it is one or more. Essentially what that means is, you attack with your team, say you have 4 creatures, you're not going to get a card for each of the creatures getting blocked. Sure. If you fight, if it's not a mass fight, so you cast Prey Upon, you cast Prey Upon it again on a second creature, then you still get individual instances of card draw in that case, but they had to keep it chill. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 2 and a gruel. If you do, double target creature's power until end of turn. That creature must be blocked this combat if able. Once again, I'm seeing very interesting design in these legends. So I mean, this is the the black legend that was Dimir, the unicorn legend that was Celestia, right? Very interesting designs that don't necessarily require you to play a ton of individual support because they have support for themselves, right? The first ability gives you gives you benefit from that second ability. Same with the unicorn, same with the Azra. 4 mana 3/3. So the Azra was a 4 mana 4/3, and this was a 4 mana 4/4. Mad respect that WotC made this the strongest so far in terms of like actual stats. 4 mana 3/3. She can double her own power, which is nice. It doesn't double toughness, so your creatures are going to be dropping like flies, potentially. I mean, green-red is known for some pretty beefy creatures anyway, so it might not be an issue. But yeah, I don't know. She's interesting. She's definitely interesting. I don't think she sees play in your typical Gruul deck because Questing Beast is just redonkulous. But at the helm of a Brawl deck, seems very fun to play around. Towering Titan. 6 mana for a 0/0. No one wants to play that nonsense. Towering Titan enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the total toughness of other creatures you control. Sacrifice a creature with Defender. All creatures gain trample until end of turn. So this, I'm fairly certain, is meant to be an Eldraine giant, just based on her, well, one, based on how pale she is, and look, the Eldraine giant is pale, and two, the armor. We have fun here. She is obviously meant to be some top end of a Bant or Green X tower defense style decks. At 6 mana, I don't love it necessarily as a card that you plan on attacking with anyway. Typically, when you're going to be in Bants, you're almost certainly going to be playing Yuriko as well, because Yuriko, you don't need the trample, you just kill with them because they can be blocked, etc. If you're not playing Bant though, like if you're just playing green-white, or maybe you even want to go into other colors, are there ways of doing that with that? Yeah, Quadly, that's right. The Planeswalker. I was thinking like High Alert and Arcades both require blue, but if you're going the Huatli route, maybe you're going some different colors, you know, Jund Defender or something, I don't know. Then this is very helpful because you can come down and immediately sacrifice one of your defending creatures, your creatures with Defender, to get that trample immediately and hopefully shut the game down there. So, very interesting. Not the best. Lightning Core Excavator is a 1-mana 0/3 golem. You pay 5, sacrifice it. Deals 3 damage to any target. It's... in my... I feel like this has potential in a form of Tempered Steel. Because it can hit a player, right? The thing is Tempered... so my reasoning here is because in Tempered Steel, you want to have your cheap artifact creatures, and you tend to not want to run too many lands because, you know, you don't want to flood out. Sometimes, though, like, even if you're running 19, 20 lands, that still happens. Right now, though, you normally see the Gargoyle, I don't remember what exactly it's called, but, you know, you can pay some amount of mana, don't remember how much, to give it flying. The Gargoyle naturally has 0 power. So if, for whatever reason, your Tempered Steel and your Steel Overseers haven't been able to make your Gargoyle better, then Lightning Core helps. Does it necessarily directly compete with Gargoyle? I don't know, because there are other 1-drops in the deck that this might replace anyway. Even though it costs more, the fact that you can just have this artifact that has a little bit of insurance for the late game might raise your win percentage with that deck even slightly, right? And sometimes if you plan on playing a lot of Tempered Steel, that likely is going to come into play. The Thrive lands. So we got Thriving Bluff, the mountain version. Thriving Grove. I mean, arguably speaking, there's a lot more water than I expect. Whatever. The green. Thriving Heath. Love it. Thriving Isle. And Thriving Moor. First things first. I'm almost certain that this is on Kaladesh, based on all the swirls. Everything else, though, no idea. We didn't really see a lot of Birds of Paradise, I don't think, on Ixalan. So if anything, and you don't see the normal Jade statue. So if anything, this might be on, like, Truja. And the rest of these, I have, like, no idea. But essentially, these are build your own dual lands, which I think is a very interesting idea that I'm surprised hasn't occurred yet. So some people might be looking at these and be like, well, aren't these just as bad as, like, you know, Dismal Backwater? Dismal Backwater might be the one that gains life, but you know the ones I'm talking about. They just come and tap. They don't gain you any life. No, because Thriving Bluff can be a red-blue duel, or a red-black duel, or a red-green, or a red-white. It can be any of those. So it's kind of just better than those. And is the battlefield tapped? Always? Sure. As it enters, you choose a color other than red. Some people have asked, why does it say other than the color that it is? My suspicion is that it's just to make it smoother on online clients. So someone doesn't accidentally misclick and just get screwed. But being able to just get whatever color combination you need, like if you're playing a budget Jund deck, right? Now instead of having to play I think Bloodfell Caves is the one that doesn't gain you life, but I really don't remember. So the black-red one, the red-green one, and the green-black one, instead of having to play those tap lands, you know, if you want to play Jund, but you are on a budget, you now get to use a couple of the bluffs, the moors, and the groves. But because you get to just choose whatever else you need, you won't have situations, or you won't have as many situations, where you have, like, a bunch of green and black cards, and, well, now you have 2 Thriving Bluffs. You can play all of those. You know, you make one green, make one black. Cool. You won't have a situation where you have the like just the red-green duels, the red-green enter tap duels, and now you can't play in your black cards, right? So I think that these are absolutely fantastic additions for budget modern decks. Or, sorry, budget historic decks. Also, they're just additional lands that you can play in your Brawl decks, and potentially into your Commander decks on Arena. Hopefully that will get someday soon. I'm going to talk a little bit about these lands because they're fucking gorgeous. This is Unicorn Plains. This is the shield, like the metal plains or whatever. It's the reflection on a shield lying against a tree. This is the Dog Plains. It's just Shiro in a field. It's not, I don't think it's actually meant to be Shiro, but. Then we got these islands. We have Wizard Tower Island with lightning just yeeting everywhere. Archaeological, like, site island. Book Island. Once again, fan-freaking-tastic. We have a lot of swamps. I'm surprised by the number of swamps. This is a seat of some sort of dark person. And he was the dark dude. Skeletal Hand Swamp. Amazing. Zombies, and technically skeletons, coming out of the ground at a gravesite swamp. Orgasmic. All of my zombie-based decks on Arena now have to have these. They're perfect. I actually have a Ghoul Caller Gisa deck in paper. I gotta replace all the lands with these. You have to. You just have to. If you're playing zombies, you have to use these lands or some other relevant lands. Uh-oh. I don't edit. Fantastic. And then the creme de la creme. You might notice over here, this little thing here. It's Bolas horns combined with the Phyrexian symbol. For what it's worth, I didn't have a concrete way of including the Eldrazi in my channel design, even though technically it's the trifecta of those: the Eldrazi, the Phyrexians, and Bolas. I love them all. This is a Phyrexian land. Wizards has said on Twitter that besides the cards that I'll be talking about, and this is going to be a long video, just so you know, besides the cards that aren't coming to Historic, which are like for power reasons or engine reasons or whatever, all of the other cards from Jumpstart are going to be coming to Historic. If they didn't mean the basic lands, I'm going to be mad because this land is fucking beautiful because of the Phyrexian script. I want the Phyrexian script in my hands. I need it. It's so cool. Because just imagine a channel intro with the Phyrexian script and then it like changes to Theoric 6. It's so good. This is some sort of like cauldron or something for witches. This is some vampire nonsense. Who cares? I mean, they're fine. It's just not. I mean, these three are just like great to me. This is a volcanic mountain, really cool. This is a treant forest. This is just like too lush. Hashtag too lush. I don't remember which forest this is meant to be for. I want to say this is the ramp one, but I don't know. This is obviously the dinosaur forest. We have the cats forest. I'm willing to bet, I can't see it, but I'm willing to bet this is not the only cat in this picture. This is the wall forest, I believe, and it is... I mean, those leaves don't look like bamboo, but it looks like it's meant to be evocative of that bamboo forest. That, like, the really well-known one. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. This is the predatory forest, and it's just a deer and a bunch of things that want to kill it. And this is the elf forest. Elves, I did not know were known for their polearms. We got some spears. We got some... do we have any halberds? Not really. We've got some, what, glaives, essentially. Yeah, not... It's not really a bill, either. Still, it's interesting. New art for Terramorphic Expanse. In my opinion, like, the art for Terramorphic Expanse. I really did like the OG Time Spiral one. I think that was OG. But, I don't know. I just like this. It's very cool to me. Let's see. Some more dogs. Some more dogs getting reprinted. Sure, who cares? Sure, who cares? Isumaru, Hound of Kanda, is now in arena. White Weenie Brawl Aggro, here I come. Is this playable in historic White Weenie in general? Possibly, like a 1-mana 2/2. Oh, I'm fairly certain that Isumaru was played like in a standard deck at some point as just it's a 1-mana 2/2. There are 1-mana 2/1s. It's a 1-mana 2/2. And he's cool. Isumaru's good dog. Let's see. These are a bunch of nonsense. Curiosity is super interesting. Never ever put OG Niv Mizzet in the deck or into arena. I don't need this in my life. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So, is this different than? Let's go ahead and just duplicate here. Is this different from how? Gosh, what the hell is that card called? Well, I'm not very smart. Blue, it costs exactly blue. Mana cost, blue. Legal in historic, it is an aura. Curious Obsession. Whenever this is combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Enchanted creature gets and has. Okay, yeah, so this is different, right? Curious Obsession says the enchanted creature gets, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you put this onto, and I want to say, no, but if you put this onto an opponent's creature, since the opponent controls that creature, they are the one who gets to benefit from this. But with Curiosity, the enchantment itself has the ability. So you can attach Curiosity to one of your opponent's creatures, and then if they deal damage to you... Shit, never mind. You can do this... The reason I'm confused, you can do this in EDH. So, if you give Curiosity to one of your opponent's creatures, they attack one of your other opponents, you can still get the draw. I've ruined it myself. Because this one, yeah, this one says to a player. So if this one, I was thinking they were combined, but this only because of EDH. EDH has ruined me. Exclude is interesting. Target creature spell, draw a card. It's like Essence Scatter, but one more to cantrip. I don't think it's going to see play in Historic, but I could be wrong. Let's see, what other cards did I think were interesting? Where's exciting? This is one of the cards that isn't going to be coming to Arena. Now, if it's for power level reasons, I don't get it. Because I don't think this is going to be... I don't think this would be necessarily too strong in Historic. Like, at 3 mana, you can instead just play Narset. And then now your opponent just can't draw cards extra. And you get to draw extra cards and things like that. You could play Teferi, so now your opponent can't cast spells during your turn. So I don't really see how this would be too much of an issue in Historic necessarily. When it comes to Historic Brawl, I could see it being annoying, but I don't know if it would be necessarily too strong with what we have currently. If it's for complexity reason, I don't agree either, because we already have Smothering Tithe. The Smothering Tithe is essentially the same thing, except it triggers on draw instead of cast. It's possible that the reason... Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. I'm willing to bet that the reason is based on the number of clicks that this would have to do. Where with Smothering Tithe, you just make the treasure token, if I recall correctly. Your opponent gets a prompt after they draw. Do you want to pay? Yes, no. You make a token. With Rhystic Study, though, right? You have Rhystic Study out. You, as the opponent, cast a spell. Technically, instead of the game just asking, like, do you want to pay an extra 1? Like when you're casting the spell, because it's a trigger, it's going to go on the stack, it's going to resolve, your opponent then has to say, are you going to pay this 1? They decide. Then you have to say, are you going to draw? Because of that, and because of the fact that there aren't currently always yield, always do, I think that's probably the reason that they're choosing not to bring this to Arena. I will mention that there is a current controversy about the art. I know about it, but if you want to look up more about the issue, I think that better people explain it better. In my opinion, you can make your own decisions regarding that. Search the artist name, controversy, it'll come up. Let's see. The Sharding Sphinx. Sharding Sphinx is cool. But it's another one of those cards where I feel like you can't play this in Brawl. Technically, I'm talking about Historic Brawl, because I don't think these are going to be legal in normal Brawl. Because they're not going to be legal in Standard. 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. The idea is you snowball with Thopters, right? You have there's a bunch of ways to make a bunch of little 1/1 artifact creatures. You have Sharding Sphinx, you get a bunch more. The issue is that with Brawl being at 25 life and 60 cards, you tend not to get to this high of mana cost using an effect like this, right? You tend not to be able to get to this high mana cost without the effect being, I win the game, right? So it's another one of those cards where, like, I really love this, I would love to play it, but I would need, like, essentially Commander in order to do so. So once again, this is something like I'm hoping Jumpstart is releasing on Arena, and so is Commander. Instead of Historic Brawl, you now have access to Historic Commander. Brawl is going to go back to just being Standard only, or you can do friend matches essentially with Historic Brawl. But yeah, Commander, because it doesn't do enough in a 25 life format, in my opinion. Tower End, we already have this essentially. Tower's Invocation, though, is a 4 mana. You make two blue drakes. They ain't bad. I feel like this is generally speaking a decent card, right? Like, am I wrong? You tell me if I'm wrong, right? No one's over there. I'm just being weird. Thirst for Knowledge. We're getting the OG version of Thirst for Meaning. So instead of artifacts, instead of enchantments, this is artifacts. Let me just double check to make sure this is actually being added. Oh, it is it? Well, fuck. This makes me think that they're not going to add Kaladesh back anytime soon, because this card's strong. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. I suspect that this will see play in Historic and Historic Brawl. It's just generally speaking a very strong effect. And you might be saying, like, isn't this just divination with more steps? No. First things first. This draws 1 deeper. Second, you get to put something in your graveyard if you want. Third, it's an instant. That matters a lot. Moving on, though. Vidalcan Archmage. A little bit of story time. I used to think that the L was silent. I used to call these Vatican. Yeah. I didn't make the connection in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, the Vatican, that's something. Vatican, the creature, that's different. No, it's Vidalcan. I felt like a fool when it was pointed out to me. But anyway, 4 minutes, 0/2. Oh, yikes. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, draw a card. So this is very similar to something like, Enchantress's Presence, things like that. However, it's a 0/2. Now, why is it a 0/2? Because it's real strong. This is another way to play Cheerios. Cheerios, for those of you who don't know, is a deck archetype in which you use a bunch of 0 mana cost artifacts. You cast a bunch of them, you draw cards by casting a bunch of them, and then you do something. Oftentimes it is grape-shotting your opponent for a bunch. With Vidalcan Archmage, whatever, you can do it on Arena. You have Chamber Sentry, you have Stonecoil Serpent, you have Ornithopters. I'm sure there are others that I can't think of right now, but still, you can just draw a bunch of cards. I don't know if there's a payoff for it just yet, but you can draw a bunch of cards. Let's see. Blood Artist. Blood Artist is back. OG Aristocrats is on the menu. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, doesn't have to be yours. Target player loses one and you gain one. So now we just have a glut. An absolute glut of 2 mana Blood Artists. Jeez. Yeah, you got this, you got Cruel Celebrant, and you got the Zombie Horseman, the Knight. I don't remember what the damn card's called. Who cares? And you have a free stack outlet in Woe Strider. We also have, and I don't think I've gotten to it yet, but we have a 1/1 cat that dies and makes a 1/1 soldier. I believe in Jumpstart we have access to Doom Traveler. But we have other effects like that, where something dies, you get a token out of it. What you do is you play all these cards, you just, generally speaking, use them for shenanigans, and then, near the end of the game, if your opponent is, like, threatening to, I don't know, board wipe or something, you sack all of your things, and machine gun down your opponent's life total until it reaches 0. Real strong. Let's see, there is also... And this card is cute. It's not great though. What is this Bone Picker from? Amonkhet? That's what I thought. Like, I thought I played with this at one point. I don't like it. It wasn't very good in Amonkhet, in my opinion. This is not very good now. Okay, so something I forgot to mention with the lands, the not Vivid lands, but the Fertile lands, or whatever the hell they were called. They're all Pauper legal, which is huge. I think right now, like, the main things used in Pauper are the Gain lands and the Ravnica Bounce lands, or the Karoo lands, as some call them. I honestly do think that these new lands are going to be contenders in Pauper. I think it's pretty interesting. Cauldron Familiar has been downshifted into Pauper. I believe that Oven has not, though. So without Oven, I don't think... Excuse me. I don't think Cauldron Familiar is going to be too much of an issue, but it is notable. Cadaver Recruitment is also kind of meh. The only great thing about Recruitment is that fantastic art. Mwah. Liliana is best planeswalker besides Bolas. This is another way to mill yourself, very similar to Gorging Vulture, except this one is a zombie itself. So if you're trying to play a zombie deck that also, like, wants to put a bunch of cards in the graveyard, then instead of using Gorging Vulture, you can, like, you're not going to gain the life, unfortunately, but you're overall going to get more cards in the graveyard. This is also a zombie, so it matters. So yeah, it's decent for very particular types of decks. Let's see here. Drana, Liberator of Malakir, is real strong. I suspect that this is going to be play a huge role in modifying the color distribution in vampire decks. We've seen in historic vampires a lot more reliance on, or at least from what I've seen, the kind of it leans a little bit more white, and I think with Drana, Liberator, Malakir, we might see them lean back into black a bit more, because she's great. But also, she's just great on her own. Like, she's just a 3-mana 2/3 flying first striker. When she deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on each attacking creature you control. That includes her. Now, for what it's worth, she has first strike. It has to be combat damage. She's not going to get to use that power until next turn. But she is a great black-centric mid-range card, right? You play a couple other strong creatures, you play Drana, you play a lot of removal. Bada bing, bada boom, you attack in, and you just have this. It's great. She's super strong. I definitely expect to see some awesomeness in Historic with Drana. I'm pretty sure Drana was making it, yeah. Entomber Exarch is interesting. 4-mana 2/2. You can either return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or force one of your opponents to discard a non-creature spell. It's nice because of its versatility. I don't think it's going to matter all that much. And we get to our first really interesting card that's not going to be in the set. Exhume. Exhume, not super expensive. I just wanted to check real quick because I didn't actually know. 2 mana, each player puts a creature card from their graveyard onto the battlefield. Now, you might say, oh, is this a symmetrical effect? No, it isn't. Imagine for a second you're playing Legacy. I go turn 1 Swamp Dark Ritual. I cast a card called Entomb. It allows me to put any card from my graveyard into the graveyard, or from my library into the graveyard. I go grab, I don't know, let's say a Grizzlebrand. I put that into my graveyard, then I cast Exhume with my other 2 mana. You haven't put any creature cards into your graveyard yet. I'm going to get a Grizzlebrand on turn 1. I'm going to pay 7 life, put myself to 13, and I'm going to draw 7 cards. In those 7 cards, I probably have a Force of Will and another blue card, so I'll pass the turn. Are you going to try and kill my Grizzlebrand? No. No. It's very strong. It's very strong, and it's only symmetrical. It's not coming to Arena. For what it's worth, I think that's fine. I think Exhume would be too strong. There's another card that it's very similar. It's essentially the same as Exhume. It's one of the other cards played in a deck like that. Also, it's too strong. You know, we just in Historic Anthology 3, we just got Unburial Rites. I think that is the correct power level for historic reanimation decks. It seems very fair to me. That said, I think some of the other cards that Wizards is printing in other colors, blue and green, oh gosh, hurts, makes me really question what the hell they're talking about. So for what it's worth, these are going to be replaced with something else. Right? All the cards that are going to be on this list, and they keep updating this list, all the cards on this are going to be replaced with something else. I assume they're going to be replaced with something similar, otherwise, who the hell cares? But I'm very interested in seeing what they do to replace Exhume. Now we get to Exquisite Blood. There are several ways now to infinite combo kill your opponents. So Exquisite Blood is often used in Commander with Sanguine Bond. So Exquisite Blood, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Sanguine Bond, whenever you gain life, I think its target player loses that amount of life. So essentially, as soon as either you gain life or someone else loses life, you just machine gun down every player's life total. And then you win. In Arena, there is a vampire whose name I don't recall, so I'm going to look it up, because I fucking can. Let's see, it is... Nope. Oh wait, mana cost. 4, black. Type line. Vampire. And it is legal in Historic. Epicure of Blood. There we go. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So you have both of these out, 1 of each. Then you gain life. Trigger, your opponent loses 1. Trigger, you gain 1. Trigger, your opponent loses 1. And it goes on like that, back and forth. Now, for what it's worth, there are other effects like this in Standard right now, or in Historic right now. I just don't remember what they are. But there are absolutely other effects that do essentially this. Was it a vampire from here? I'm just gonna scroll down real quick. Look, this video is gonna be long as fuck anyway. Like, I don't actually care. Was it? Isn't there some sort of a legendary? What do you do? Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Ah, redundancy. Who doesn't love redundancy? It is only 3 mana. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So you gain life, your opponent loses 1. They lose 1, you gain 1. They lose 1, they gain 1. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. Once again, trigger. It's cool. It's a meme. I'm gonna make the deck. A Falcon Wrath Noble is it's 4 mana Blood Artist essentially. It's not gonna see as much play. You know, you'll see it in some of the, well, no, because I guess all the other things are like commons and uncommons anyway. If you're trying to just do vampires, then you lose out on Zombie Knight, but you can add this, so you still have the same amount of things dying matters. So sure. Ghoul Caller Gisa, as I said a moment ago, is a deck I have in real life, in Commander. I love that deck. I love zombies. I'm going to make this into a Brawl deck. I am so excited when Amonkhet comes back, because then we have so many more zombies to play with. I mean, we also have, like, more cats or some nonsense, but who cares about that when you have zombies? Once again, though, I feel like she's just a little slow. Not being able to get your value until turn 6, while you cast a creature that has not exactly the highest of stats to protect herself, makes me hope that we're going to get some Commander on Arena. Because when you compare this to something like Giganta, Niv Mizzet, Golos. Is Golos bad? I don't know. But Golos. You know, when you compare her to other 5-mana cards that you play in Brawl, she just does not do nearly as much, because Wizards, for some reason, has made some cards value too GD high. Innocent Blood. Each player sacrifices a creature. We might be able to see a legitimate Pox deck on Arena. Pox, for those who don't know, let me just make sure it's not in here, is an archetype in which essentially it is like mono black control via resource denial. So you make your opponent discard a bunch of cards, you make them not have like any creatures, and in some circumstances, many of them in Legacy, you make it so they don't have lands. Now, obviously, right now we don't have Pox or Small Pox. We do have Big Pox, which is Fraying Omnipotence, even though it doesn't deal with the lands, but whatever. But yeah, we could see some sort of discard / sacrifice based mono black control deck, and I'd be super interested in seeing that. And Innocent Blood does a great deal for that. Now, Innocent Blood, just like Exhume, is not really symmetrical, because often what you'll have is something called Nether something. I'm hoping there aren't too many. Oh, it's Nether Spirit. I forgot this got reprinted. It's Nether Spirit. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Nether Spirit is the only creature card in your graveyard, you may return Nether Spirit to the battlefield. So, essentially, in the Legacy version, you have Nether Spirit as, you know, like a 2/of or something, and pretty much no other creatures. And then, like, you have Innocent Blood. Like, who cares if you sacrifice your Nether Spirit? It's just going to come back immediately. And your opponent has to actually sacrifice something. And it only costs 1 mana. So, it's cool. I like it. Last Grasp, also from Battle Bond, I believe. Yeah, Valor's Reach. So it's Battle Bond. It's similar to the card that we saw reprinted in M21 with Grasp of Darkness, except this doesn't cost double black. So if you're playing a control deck that includes black, but also like isn't too deep on black, then you can play this instead. Grasp of Darkness, though, is generally better if you can afford the cost. But I think having this in Arena is going to be generally helpful. Valiants Elite is a 3-mana 1/1 zombie that has +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. I don't know if this is strong enough, but I'm going to try it. It might be needed if Commander does come to Arena. I think there are enough zombies to make a mono black Brawl deck fine, because once again, you don't have a ton of room. But I do think that if they were going to add Commander to Arena, which once again, come on, I think this might need to be in the 99. Let's see. Nixithid. This is another one of the reasons why I think it'd be interesting to see if we can have some sort of Pox deck on Arena. 3 mana for a 7/7. Whoa, that's crazy. It's not a 4 mana 7/7. Really old Hearthstone memes. As it enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. Nixithid gets -1/-1 for each card in the chosen player's hand. So obviously, if your opponent has 7 cards in hand, this dies immediately. If they have 6, it's a 1/1. If they have 3, it's a 4/4. If they have 2, it's a 3 mana 5/5. If they have no cards in hand, it's a 3 mana 7/7. And this can be like the element in those discard decks where you can actually start killing your opponent. Not only that, this can be used to, 1, drain your opponent's hand more if they want to use a card in their hand as removal, and 2, help you survive, just in case your opponent is a more aggressive deck that is planning on getting rid of their cards anyway. This can come down relatively early with a decent-ish body, considering the fact that if you're going against a super low-to-the-ground aggressive deck, they're going to lose the cards in their hand fast, and you can block with it a lot. So I think that this is going to be very helpful for the mono-black and maybe even black X control decks. Phyrexian Ranger is just generally speaking a good card. It's a 3-mana. It's a 3-mana 2/2 that draws you a card. You lose a life, but who cares? Reanimate. Once again, whoops. It is not going to be included. How much does this cost though? Yeah, it's a good reprint though in terms of value, but it's also not going to be in standard or in arena. Once again, I think that's fair. I think that, you know, going Mire Triton into some nonsense would be too much. For what it's worth, yes, you lose life equal to CMC. If your opponent can't handle, like if your opponent doesn't have something immediately, that does not matter. Because you can be at 1 if your opponent's at 0. So I'm okay with the fact that this has come to arena. I do wish, I mean, the thing is, like, it also just is a good reprint for paper. So, like, I was going to say I wish that they just not done that, and just whatever the 20 cards are that are replacing the other 20 cards, just that's what's played anyway, but Rise of the Dark Realms. I played this in my Gisa deck. Very flavorful. 9-mana card, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Now this is similar to Command the Dreadhorde, to Eerie Ultimatum. It's similar to those cards. Except with Eerie Ultimatum, you only get one of each of the things that are named. For what it's worth, in a Brawl / Commander setting, doesn't really matter all that much. Command the Dreadhorde, it does cost 1 less. No, Command the Dreadhorde costs 6, dumbass. Costs 3 less. But you have to pay life. And a lot of life, to be honest. Rise of Dark Realms, you don't. The issue is that it's 9 mana, which, again, this is not something that you can sustain in Brawl, because you have 25 life and only 60 cards. You can't really get to the size of graveyard and the time to not die and set up your graveyard in order to make value out of this card. So once again, Wizards, give us that sweet commander. Sangromancer. I love this card. It had been in so many of my black-based EDH decks for a long time because it's just cool. Is it going to see play in Historic? Probably not, but it is, generally speaking, helpful in different types of decks. So, 4-mana, 3/3 flyer. Whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, you may gain 3 life. Cool. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life. So if you're playing, once again, you're playing mono black discard or something, and you know you're playing against a more aggressive deck, your discards aren't going to matter as much. But when you make them discard, you get to gain some life, which is a single trigger on this card plus the block. You know, that's a 6-point life boon, and that might be enough to help you find your board wipes or whatever. But also, the reason I think this could potentially see some fringe play is because of the other cards in M21 that care about you gaining exactly 3 life. And if you can string together a deck where you can consistently get either these triggers or 3 life in some other way, then I think that you can relatively reasonably play this card. Because also, you know, it's a 4-mana 3/3 flyer with upside. Like, it's not bad. On 2 of the other black cards that aren't making it in, I've been like, sure, that makes sense. But Scourge of Neltoth. This is a 7-mana 6/6 flying zombie dragon. Sure. You may cast it from your graveyard by paying black and sacrificing 2 creatures rather than paying its cost. This is one of the cards that is not being put onto Arena. And I don't exactly know why. Yes, you can cast it from your graveyard. You have to, the fact is though, you have to sacrifice 2 creatures and still pay black. So it's going to be relatively hard to consistently do that. Now, obviously, we have plenty of, as I said already, we got Mire Triton, Gorging Vulture, what the hell is a Stitcher Supplier. We've got the Crow Zombie up that we just talked about a little bit ago. So we have a bunch of creatures that put things into the yard anyway. So theoretically, you know, in Magical Christmas Land, you go turn 1, Stitcher Supplier, turn 2, Mire Triton, turn 3, this. But it is just a 6/6. And you might be saying, like, what do you mean it's just a 6/6? It's just a 6/6 on turn 3. That's madness. Is it, though? when we live in a world of turn 3 Teferis, turn 3... I mean, Winota just got surprise banned, or surprise suspended. But, you know, like, Wizards apparently thought that was fine. And we have a ton of removal that kills this. Like, this does die to a lot of things. It makes me think... So Exhume and Reanimate, I don't think makes sense on Arena at all. With Scourge of Neltoth, this is one of those cards where I think they should have let it come to Arena, but kept an eye on it, right? Instead, hey, like, these are the cards we have to replace. They're not going to do it. It's too much. These are the cards we're going to let you have, but we're going to keep an eye out on them because they have potential to do nonsense things. And this has potential to do nonsense things. Well, never mind, it doesn't, because it's not going to come to Arena. When we talk about some of the other cards, particularly a green card, you'll see why I don't like that decision for this card. But you make is it because so it might not, technically speaking, it might not be power level reason. Do I think that this could be for other reasons? You may cast it from your graveyard by paying black and sacrifice into creatures. No, that I don't see how that's different from other cards that we have on Arena right now. Let's see, Shambling Goblin coming. I mean, that's cool. Shield Red, unfortunately, not coming to Arena. I mean, I'm big sad. Don't get me wrong. I am big sad. Some people think that it's because of the power level, and for what it's worth, I think that's the case. But some people think that they don't want to program Landwalk into the game. I don't know if that would be too difficult. So I suspect it's just power level. And as much as I hate to say it, I can understand it, to be honest. Let's see here. Wailing Ghoul, another enter the battlefield, mill some things. However, this is just almost always worse than Mire Triton. Mire Triton is an X1, so it can die to like pings and things. But the fact that it has Death Touch means that it holds the line better than this does. But this does have Art of Gisa being weird, which is awesome. Zombie Infestation is very interesting. So it's a 2-mana discard, 2-mana enchantment, discard 2 cards, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. There is a deck called Zombie Hunt, where you use Treasure Hunt and Zombie Infestation and cards like Seismic Toss. Essentially, like you just draw a bunch of lands, not your whole deck, but you draw a bunch of lands, and then you either make a ton of zombies with them to hit your opponent with, or you just throw the lands at your opponent. Is it a great idea? No, probably not. But it is interesting, because now you can make a legitimate treasure hunt deck that doesn't aim to necessarily combo win. And what this means is that you are going to have a little bit more leeway on how you win the game. So I suspect that, you know, I've already seen people play Zenith Hunt decks. I suspect that we could see Zombie Hunt decks as well. You might even potentially see Zombie Zenith Hunts. You might see just Zombie Hunt Oracle, right? There are ways you can mix and match this, and I think it's pretty cool, just generally speaking. Ashmouth Hound is great and limited. I don't think it'll see play in the... Oh, right, it's a dog now. I was going to say I don't think it'll see play in the red decks, but it's a dog. So if you need more dogs, it is a dog. Flames of the Firebrand was, if I recall correctly, was played when it was in Standard. 3 mana, deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. Very helpful. You know, you essentially can get some 2-for-1s against other aggressive decks. So, you know, you deal 2 damage to a creature and 1 damage to their face. You can deal 3 damage to a creature or their face. You know, 1 damage to 3 different things if they have a bunch of... Oh, I mean, this is like pretty decent against the Cavalcade decks, right? But you might be thinking, well, why not just play a 3-mana board wipe? Well, this can still hit face. So if you're playing a... It's hard to say a non-aggressive red deck, but, you know, if you're playing a red deck that still wants to burn the opponent's face while also having some element of creature control, it's fine. Grim Lavamancer is cool. It's a 1-mana 1/1. You pay a red and tap it, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, Lava Mancer deals 2 damage to any target. We've seen Grim Lava Mancer played in things like Modern and I think even Legacy Burn, and that's because sometimes you just need a little bit more reach and you have a bunch of cards in the graveyard. You know, you've been burning your opponent's face, or your opponents have killed your creatures. You get to use those. I just hit my mic and I definitely apologize for it. You get to use those, and it's good. Hunger Flame's alright. Magma Jet, also alright. Pillar of Flame is something I did not expect to see. It is essentially the 1-mana version of Lava Coil. This is Lava Coil when it was still in elementary school. 1 mana, deal 2 damage to any target. If a creature dealt this damage this way, would die to Stern Exile instead. Now you might notice something. This can still hit players. You can hit players and Planeswalkers, so it is technically just better than Lava Coil in that regard. Obviously it doesn't do a ton of damage, but the fact that this can hit face and still exile a creature is very important when you're dealing with cards that, frankly, come back from the graveyard. Let's see here. This is funny for a mono red control deck. You just get to yeet a creature based on your mountains. Just funny. Volcanic Fallout. I don't like it. I don't want to die to this. I don't want to die to this card. Volcanic Fallout is an instant 1 red. This spell can't be countered. It deals 2 damage to each creature and each player. It scares me because it can't be countered. And it deals damage. That said, I don't know if it'll actually see play. Young Pyromancer, though, I would be surprised if this does not see play. This MF sees play in Legacy. Like, you cast an instant or sorcery, and you just... this is an uncommon. I have to make sure. Let me refresh the page real quick. Yeah, no, Young Peasy. Still gonna make it in. Yeah, seems good. You put this into the blue-red spells deck, and you win. This card is strong. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's strong. Let's see here. Oh, right! I forgot they were putting assault formation. So, yeah, now you can actually just, like, go green-red walls instead. I totally forgot about this. So, yeah, they've added assault formation. You can buff all your creatures. Target creature with Defender can attack as though it didn't have Defender. It's unfortunate, like, you do have to pay a decent amount of green in order to use that, but still, it's good. Brindle Shoat, I do love. This was I think, an OGA Commander card. I think this was printed for the Sequar deck, or not Sequar, the Prosh deck. No. This is a Plane Chase. This is a Plane Chase card printed with Thromok the Insatiable. That's what this was. It's a 2-mana 1/1. When it dies, you make a 3/3 board. It's a very interesting card. Don't know exactly where I'd put it, but this seems fine. Critical Behemoth. Okay, like, we have Realm Raise boards, right? Like, obviously this is not gonna come to Historic. Man, it's very interesting, because I don't see Critical Behemoth on this list, Wizards. So green, a card that already has a ton of ramp, and has already shown that they use that shit real nicely in Historic, they get to have this. But black doesn't get to have a 6/6 flying zombie dragon? What? But, like, actually, what? Like, this card is so much better than Ender's Forerunners. Like, it sees actual legacy play in Elves. It's an 8-mana 5/5 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, each creature you control gains trample and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. You don't get vigilance anymore. And the buff is absurd. Like, Ender's Forerunners, sure, gives vigilance. Yeah, who cares? It gives +2/+2. That doesn't matter. You just have so much mana in the elf deck, and you play this, and you can put it in, excuse me, the Nissa decks. You can put it in normal ramp that, instead of necessarily like putting ramp creatures, it plays things like Arbor Elf and things like that, or not Arbor Elf, Grazer. Arboreal Grazer, jeez. It's not fair. Green gets all the favoritism. Speaking of elves, we do get more elf support. Elvish Archdruid. Why is this fair? I'll say it. I hate elves. As someone who likes to play Death and Taxes, I hate elves and I hate merfolk. That's just life. When you're a Death and Taxes player, that is just life. And I don't appreciate this. This is why elves can get away with playing this so easily. Because you only need Elvish Archdruid. And, I mean, obviously, like, you're going to need other elves. But, you know, you might be thinking, well, Theorix, you have all these elves. If you have to tap them to play the Craterhoof, obviously it's not going to be as good. You have Elvish Archdruid, which taps for a bunch. And then you have Marwyn? Whatever the 3-mana legendary version of essentially this is. Also, just taps for a bunch. Marwyn alone, very quickly, could pay for Craterhoof herself. And you don't need a ton of creatures necessarily to win with Craterhoof. Because Craterhoof... Here's the battlefield. Creatures you control. Gain triple. Creatures, not other creatures. Creatures. Craterhoof itself also gets bigger, based on your elves. I cannot see a world in which elves don't become a tier deck in Historic. I couldn't fathom a world in which that's not the case. Explorer's interesting. Because Ramp needed more stuff. I mean, obviously helpful for Brawl, but no, this is an interesting one. First of all, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. 2 mana, 1/1. Draw a card and reveal it. If it's a land, discard it. This one, not coming to Arena. Also not showing for some reason. Sure. I don't necessarily know why. If I had to guess, it would be because the programmers weren't entirely sure how to like get this to work. Draw a card and reveal it. If it isn't a land card, discard it. But it doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't seem like it'd be too difficult, or like that it's too different from other things that we do have. So. Yeah, I don't get that one. I really don't. There might be something I'm missing, but I don't get it. Feral Hydra's cool. It's a X green Hydra. More Hydra support alone is very nice to have. And as a battlefield, X 1/1 counters on it. Pay 3, put a 1/1 counter on Feral Hydra. Any player may activate this ability. So we know that Wizards is technically working on multiplayer support for Arena. And when I say working on, I mean that if I recall correctly, it was like one of the things that they're like long-term goals essentially for Arena. But I can't help but read into this too much. That said, it's still pretty cool. Me like more Hydra. Fertilid. Don't we have you already? Did we get Fertilid recently? Yeah, ikoria. I knew we had Fertilid. It was just a different color. By different color, I mean it looked different. The art. I'm very smart, guys. Great Bramble, protection from zombies. I just like this card. That's about it. Lurking Predators. Once again, this is a card that is good in Commander, but I think it's going to be too slow for Brawl. It takes so long to get there. And it's even worse in Brawl because right now it's just 1v1, so it's not like you can get multiple triggers. I've been playing Lurking Predators for quite a while in my Mael EDH deck, and I'll tell you right now, when it goes off, it's great. It doesn't go off a ton. You know, even in my Mael deck, I'm running like 32 creatures or something like that. That's only a third. So, you know, it's not super often, but man. Momentous Fall, another one that's quite interesting. 4 mana, instant as additional cost to cast a spell sacrifice creature. You draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, and you gain life equal to its toughness. generally speaking, I like the idea of having this card on Arena. I don't suspect it'll see any real play in Historic. Maybe it'll see some in Brawl, but I just like that it's there. Nature's Way is back. Cool. Oracle of Moldiah. Good reprint. Literally like $41. Only printed in Zendikar. Fantastic reprint. Not gonna lie. But I can't help but feel like this is another green card that ramps and is good. Very curious. Essentially what I'm saying is I'm not looking forward to playing any deck that has green in it anytime soon. Overgrown Battlement is pretty dope because now in your wall deck you can do some cool rampy things. Presence of Gond. It's part of combos, but unfortunately we don't have the other part of the combo right now at least, so meh. Primordial Sage. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may draw a card. There are, sadly, other versions of this effect in Arena, and they're not even played, so. Ravenous Baloth. Beasts. I don't think I'll be able to make Beast Tribal just yet, but I like it. Beast Tribal's cool. Wait. What? You versus the guy she told you not to worry about. It's the same card without the extra text. They're in like the same pose and everything. What is that? What does that mean? Virgin Rumbling Baloth, Chad Ravenous Baloth. Now, Sovala, I'm actually super stoked about this reprint because this mofo costs too much for me to like want to buy. I have it in my list, my like perfected list, but I'm not paying $20 for one card in a deck that I'll see, you know, once in 99 times. So that's cool. But once again, it's an elf. And it doesn't, well, for what it's worth, it's an elf that doesn't really go into elf decks. But it's really cool for a mono green like monster tribal in EDH. Wayfinder is cool for Brawl. Soul of the Harvest also quite interesting for Brawl. Technically speaking, once again, I feel like this card is a bit slow. But 6 mana, 6/6, trample. Whenever another non-token creature you control enters the battlefield, under your control, you may draw a card. It's cool. Spore Mound is actually something that I think is the coolest because it is a fungus and it makes saplings. So we're getting closer to that fungus Brawl deck using Slimefoot to actually like be decent. So I like that. Sylvan Ranger, quite cool. I like to have it, you know, decent option. Thragtusk. Really, Wizards? Thragtusk? Really? 5 mana, 5/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Or you gain 5 life, sorry. When it leaves the battlefield, not when it dies, when it leaves the battlefield, you create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Are you for real? Now, some of you might have not been around when this was around in Standard. Bant Control had this in Restoration Angel. It was a thing. Obviously, we don't have Restoration Angel. We do have Thassa, though. Could you imagine going turn 4 Thassa into this? Because I could. And by I could, I mean I will, and also I will absolutely consider someone when someone does this shit to me. How is this card is going to see play in Historic? It is so good. I don't see a world in which this doesn't see play in Historic. I just cannot. It is so incredibly value laden. You just play this against aggro decks. You gain 5. Immediately you gain 5. And then you can block with it. Or maybe it'll eat a lightning strike. Who cares? Because you still get a 3/3. If your control opponent bounces it to your hand with a Brazen Borrower, you still get a 3/3. If your opponent exiles Thragtusk with Settle the Wreckage or some ilk, you still get a 3/3. What? Don't get me wrong, I'm playing this card. And I'm probably gonna play this shit in mid-range, in Abzan mid-range, because it's that good. Like, you play this in Abzan mid-range with very mild blink effects, and you just profit. It's so good. Why? Why? Wolvenwald Hydra's cool. 6 mana, reach, power and toughness equals the number of lands you control. When it ends the battlefield, you may search the library for a land card put into the battlefield tapped. Wow, it's like a worse Golos. It's still cool. You put this into a Get Rug Monster Brawl deck, but... Wall of Blossoms is cool. Verdant Embrace is a fun card, but I don't think it's gonna see play. Ren's Run Vanquisher seems very strong in an aggressive elf deck, so I do suspect that we might see a schism, a split in the elf decks, where we're gonna see hardcore aggro elves. You know, you're gonna see Pelt Collector, Ren's Run Vanquisher, Steel Leaf Champion. All of those are elves. You know, you see that line, and then you see the Llanowar Elf into Marwyn, into Elvish Archdruid, into nonsense mana stuff. So, cool. Zendikar Royal. Landfall. Land enters the battlefield, you make a 2/2 elemental. I like it. I think it's cool. Wait a minute. Risen Reef. Zendikar's Royal. Play a land. Get an elemental. Trigger Risen Reef. Get a land. Trigger Royal. Get an elemental. Trigger Reef. Get a land. Can someone say a circus of value? Because I can. Feed your cravings at the circus of value. Augur Spree, very cool. This is removal in my opinion. Let's see. Fusion Elemental is funny. I don't think it's any real play. We are getting Mouse March Angel, right? Yeah, cool. Mouse March Archangel is hilarious and scary. Luckily, it's not a legendary creature, but 5 and a 5/5 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. Can someone say Omniscience? Because I can. I mean, this is just Brawl nonsense. That's all I can say. Aether Spellbomb is very interesting. It has Japanese text on it for some reason. Is that Japanese? I want to say that's Japanese. Yeah. Anyway, you sacrifice Aether Spellbomb and pay a blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand, or you just pay anything to sack it and draw a card. I don't think it's broken yet on Arena. We might see it get there at some point. Alloy Mirror. It's cool. Chromatic Sphere. Very similar to Spellbomb. I don't think it has a support just yet, but it'll get there. Dreamstone Hedron. Once again, this is a card that is too slow for Brawl. IMHO. But would be okay in Commander. I mean, we are also getting Hedron Archive, which is... So I should mention, you might notice some sort of interesting trend here. Think about Mindstone. Mindstone, 2-mana artifact, tap for a single colorless, pay 1, tap and sack it, draw a card. Hedron Archive, double the cost, double the add, double the sack, double the card draw. Dreamstone Hedron, triple the cost, triple the add, triple the sack, triple the draw. So it's a not true cycle, but the fact that all of them are here means that it's a little bit easier to play the nonsense Ulamog Brawl deck that I'm trying to make. That will be on the channel as soon as I get access to Jumpstart, which is not until like freaking... Does it say here? No, it's like July something. Ugh. But it'll be here. Why are we seeing this in mid-June? I guess it's like mid-late June, 18th. Yeah, sure, whatever. Anything else interesting? We got some Scarecrows, but I don't find those very interesting. Meridius Core is cool. I don't know exactly what you do with it. Maybe you put it into a heavy Planeswalker Proliferate deck in Brawl with 5 colors. Makes sense. Buried Ruin is cool. You get to get back an artifact that matters. Phyrexian Tower is cool. You sacrifice a creature and add black, which is... Also, I think this card... Yeah, I think I wanted this card for Gisa, but I couldn't justify $16 for it. But I think with the new printing, yeah, I mean, they did a really good job reprinting these cards. Riptide Laboratory, sure, bounces a wizard. No, I think that there are a couple other cards that, yeah. So we have Bird Plains here. I'll go through these on this website just cause. Although I guess I should maybe zoom in. Okay. Steel Plume, Marshall... I mean, this is one I'm also seeing for my first time. 5 mana, 3/3. When it attacks other attacking creatures you control, get with flying. Get +2/+2 until end of turn. First of all, I have to say, I absolutely love the art on this. Very cool Hawk Aven. I mean, I want to really like this card. I like the card, whether or not I'll see play in historic, like normal, constructed, remains to be seen. But if you're playing flyers in Brawl, it seems pretty damn good. What do you play as the flying commander in Brawl though? Because you definitely want white and blue. You might want red, so maybe you play Kaikar. Cathars Crusade. Once again, really good in Commander. Feels a little slow in Brawl, but is really good with tokens. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So you play a bunch of tokens. Let's say, for example, right? Let's just say that you have Cathars Crusade, and then you cast Who Let the Dogs Out. You get 4 doggos that all enter the battlefield at the same time. You have 4 Cathars Crusade triggers. All of your doggos are going to get 4 1/1 counters. You're going to spend 5 mana initially, and then another 4 for 4 5/5s. Next time you play a creature, next time a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it and all your dogs get another 1/1 counter. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Patron of the Valiants, 5 mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that already has a 1/1 counter on it. If you can consistently get a decent number of creatures with 1/1 counters on it, seems decent. I don't care about these, frankly. Yeah, so I think at this point... No, I don't think I saw these. Oh, wait, these are empty. Oh, I think they're just being reprinted in Jumpstart. And that's why I didn't see them on the other place. Yes, so it looks like I have maybe, potentially, gone through all of the cards. Possibly. Because these say I'm toying. So I don't know. This is why I don't use Myth Explorer. But there are some cards that we haven't seen yet, but we know are going to be there because of this page. Ball Lightning. Not coming to Arena. For what it's worth, fair. Ball Lightning is strong, and I don't think Red needs any support in this area. Same with Chain Lightning. Really? I'm just gonna go ahead and do this myself, because Wizards can't get their shit together. Same with Chain Lightning. This is just Lightning Bolt. Right. Oh, cool. You're the person who got hit. They can pay extra to reuse it. No, this is just a version of Lightning Bolt. Ball Lightning, 3 mana, trample haste 6/1. It's real strong. It can hit you hard. Everyone knows what Lightning Bolt is. It's this but instant speed without the extra faff. You don't want this on Arena. You don't want that level of burn consistency. Please believe me. The ability to just burn everything would make Historic unbearable for anyone who isn't playing aggro. And even for people who aren't playing aggro. Like, there are not enough counters for that on Historic. There is a reason why burn is so prevalent in pretty much every format where Lightning Bolt is legal. Lightning Bolt is strong. Chain Lightning is Lightning Bolt. Sure, it's not instant speed. Sure, it can't hit... no, it can hit creatures as well. You don't want this. You don't want this. We don't need it. I'm interested in seeing what they replace it with. Because my assumption is that these replacements are going to be similar in some way. So I'm very interested in seeing what exactly it is that we're going to get. Maybe. Well, no, because Chain Lightning... Maybe we'll see... No, I'm thinking of Lava Coil. What the hell? Lava Dart? No. What the heck is the card I'm thinking of? Boom. Let's see. Type line. Sorcery? Nope. Sorcery. Cost. Red. Text. 3. Damage. Oops. CMC equal to 1. Lava Spike. That's what it is. Maybe you think of me when you are all alone. No, maybe we'll see Lava Spike. Maybe. But I doubt it. Let's see. Read the Runes is another one that we haven't seen on there, but isn't coming to Arena. X and a blue. Draw X cards for each card you've drawn this way. Discard a card unless you sacrifice a permanent. My guess is that the text on that card just seems like a hassle to code. That's my guess. My assumption is it's just a hassle. Choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature. Maybe they're worried that the wording is too confusing for players? But no, because this is going to be in Jumpstart, which is for new players anyway. So it wouldn't be the wording, it would be... It's definitely not for the power level. So it has to be for the programming side. Choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. So my guess is that it's not the wording per se being too confusing for players. My guess is the way it's worded would be difficult to implement in the engine at the moment. I'm hoping that stuff like this can be put in later on, but my suspicion is that you have to like choose the creature an opponent controls. The game would have to like put a mark on it so that if it would die this turn, you gain 3. Then you have to target a different creature that you control, like after the game has done all that, and you then fight that creature. So maybe that's why. But as of right now, this is this. And it's 20-ish cards that are going to not be included. So right now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's about half. So we've seen about half, which makes me realize... No, the full set is being revealed today, which is tomorrow for me. Interesting, but we've only seen half. Most of these cards have been black and red, though. There's a couple blue. But the fact that green got so much, and black and red got so little, I really do want to know why. And what I'll say is I don't appreciate this. So we'll share the details of what cards are going to replace them, as well as more on playing Jumpstart digitally with the July state of the game. No. We should know as soon as the cards, as soon as Jumpstart is completely revealed, why these cards aren't being added and what they're being replaced by. Because I'm someone who likes to play Historic. At this point, let's be honest, at this point, my channel is more about Historic than it is about Standard, because frankly, I don't like Standard all that much. When a new set comes out, I'll play a bunch of Standard, but very quickly, I'm going to move back into Historic stuff. And I'll reflect that on my channel schedule at some point soonish. I want to be able to brainstorm and theorycraft decks with all of the cards available to me as soon as I can. If I don't know what the reanimation cards are going to be changed for in Arena, I can't realistically make a deck for that, right? Because it can change drastically. Right? Let's say I'm making a mono black reanimation deck, right? Or because I don't have a bunch of great black options. Let's say I make it black-white. I run Unburial Rites and I run Blood for Bones, right? Let's say whatever the best reanimation targets are, I play those. Ulamog and, for sake of argument, just right now, I'll say Obliterator. So I'm running those. Shield Dread, hopefully, since it's a part of the reanimation version of Jumpstart, hopefully will be replaced by another reanimation target. That reanimation target might be better. It's hard to be better than Ulamog, but still, might be better than Ulamog, might be better than the other actual card that'll play Obliterator, just a placeholder, but still. But because I would want to make sure that my deck can adequately use the two main reanimation targets that I've used, I'm likely going to theme the rest of the deck around there. Theme, but like mechanically sculpt the rest of my deck around that. Same with like these. Like if we are getting other versions of reanimation cards, it'd be super difficult. For example, right? Like maybe we don't get reanimation cards, things that reanimate things, but we get things that put cards directly into the graveyard. Maybe it's too strong, but maybe we get Buried Alive. Buried Alive is a 2 and a black instant or sorcery. I don't remember. I can literally look it up, dumbass. I'm very smart. It's a sorcery. 3 mana sorcery. You just search a library for 3 creature cards and you put them right into your graveyard. Right? Is that too strong? Maybe it makes the deck too consistent. For what it's worth, it would be consistent on putting a creature onto play on turn 4. Right? Like you have Blood for Bones or Unburial Rites if it's in your graveyard. Right? Right. Yeah, flashback is 4. Okay. Right? And there are other ways of doing nonsense things by turn 4 in Standard or in Historic already. So I don't see how that would be necessarily too insane. Especially since your opponent will be able to see it coming and react properly to it. So maybe we get something like that. That completely changes how I would want to make that deck. Maybe I want to make a burn deck for some reason. I don't, because I don't really like red, but maybe I do. Knowing what we get would be very important. Because, you know, having a burn deck focused around casting a bunch of instant sorceries is different than having a burn deck that is based mostly around creatures, and then you have very strong removal that can happen to go face. It's different than a burn deck that uses a lot of wizards, or it's different than a burn deck that uses a lot of goblins, right? The supporting cast of these cards all matter because you want to be able to get as best of cards you can to fit around each of the other individual cards. You want a lot of synergy. And you can't know that if you're not going to tell us until July. You're showing us the actual product, and then you're saying, these 20 cards, you don't get to know what they are in Historic. So I'm very frustrated about that. I frankly don't care as nearly as much that we're not getting these cards. We're getting other cards. I don't care nearly as much as the fact that you're not telling me what the hell I'm getting until freaking super late. So, luckily that's the end of the video. This has been a long time. It's an hour and 45 minutes. If you're still here, apparently you're part of the Cool Kid Club. I've been talking for too long. My throat is killing me. I really do want to say I appreciate all the support. Super excited to talk about the rest of the Jumpstart cards, and yeah, my throat's killing me. I'm gonna bounce. I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for the continued support. Have another patron. Just waiting on them to respond, and then they'll be up on this as well. I might need to modify the Patreon screen because I'm running out of room a little bit. If you'd like to join them shorten the show, you find links to that down in the description below. But honestly, liking, commenting, subscribing, all of that stuff means the world to me. Yeah. Until next time, as we say on the channel, I guess, for some reason, all will be one.